Welcome aboard the Wonder of the Seas, one of the world's largest and most groundbreaking megaships. With seemingly endless options for drinks, dining, thrills, and entertainment, it's easy to see why so many love this ship, but it's definitely not for everyone, as some say it's too noisy, too crowded, and just too big.
But perhaps the most controversial thing about this billion-dollar cruise ship is its somewhat odd interior balcony staterooms, one of which we just happen to be staying in during our cruise.
In this video, we're going to be taking you on a tour and sharing our experience spending 4 nights in one of these unique but bizarre staterooms to help you decide if these really are as bad as people say they are. Plus, along the way, we're going to be sharing everything we loved and didn't about the Wonder of the Seas.
Now, those of you who are continuing on with us from our first episode know that we are already on day 3 of 5 on this cruise, and we spent our first couple of days taking in as much of this ship as humanly possible. It's been chaotic and exhausting, but a whole lot of fun. So if you haven't already seen our first 2 days on this cruise ship, we definitely recommend checking out that video after this one. But for now, we're gonna take you to a couple of spots that we have yet to experience on this ship, and then we'll meet you on deck 12 to show you our stateroom.
After coffee, we decided it was finally time to try a meal at the Windjammer, so we'll show you a bit of what we found on the buffet. Now, I can't believe it has taken us until day 3 to make it to the Windjammer Cafe, which is the main buffet on this ship at the back of deck 15. This morning it wasn't too busy because we are ported in Nassau, so a lot of people are already off of the ship, but we've heard that it can get much busier. We were actually a little surprised by how small it was. We thought for a ship this size, the buffet would be a little bit bigger, but when you do take into consideration all the other complimentary places you can eat for breakfast, it does kind of make sense. Those spots include the Solarium Bistro, Park Cafe, the Promenade Cafe, El Loco Fresh, and we've even heard that breakfast is complimentary at Johnny Rockets.
Now, even though it was a bit on the smaller side, we are still happy to find that the Windjammer had all your breakfast staples such as sausage, bacon, omelets, French toast, pancakes, waffles, eggs Benedict, pastries, cereals, and parfaits. We did sample a decent variety of things, but 2 of them really stood out. I made a killer breakfast sandwich with their biscuit as well as bacon, a ham and cheese omelet, and hollandaise sauce. And Jamie got some smoked salmon with capers and this delicious sun-dried tomato cream cheese. Both of those items were amazing.
We're out on the pool deck in the middle of deck 15, and that pool over there has been open since 9. It's pretty busy, but this pool right in front of us doesn't open until 11. They are getting ready to take the nets off right now. You know, Skylar was already complaining about being hot, so he is on his way to get in as soon as they'll let him. The hot tubs out here are cool because they have a glass front, but that also means everybody else can see you. While Skylar cools down, I do want to take some time to talk about this pool area because it is one of the things I really like about this ship. Outside of the buffet, there are 4 pool areas. We're closest to the pools that tend to be the party pools, as they host the events like the Sexiest Man competition, as well as the sail away parties. Behind me, there's the beach pool on one side, and on the other side is a kids splash pad area. I like that the pools are sectioned off with a variety of loungers, but you can still access them very easily. And in the middle, there's even an ice cream station, so you don't have to go into the buffet to get your ice cream. At the very back of deck 15 within the solarium is an adults only pool, so that's where I'm gonna cool off once Skylar's done here. There are a few different sections in this solarium pool. A couple of them are only about 6 inches deep, which is perfect for lounging and just staying cool. A couple of them are deep enough to submerge your body, but there isn't an area where you can actually swim.
Now, like JB mentioned earlier, today is a port day and it is not busy at all in here, and they're not even playing any music at all. Now, yesterday during a sea day, it was a lot busier and they were playing music, but at least it was really relaxing music.
Now, a couple hidden gems on the Wonder of the Seas are located just off the lower level of the solarium, where you'll find 2 different balconies extending out over the front corners of the ship. These areas are closed off during sea days, but in our opinion, provide some of the very best views the ship has to offer when in port. Welcome to room 605 on deck 12 here on Wonder of the Seas. It's an interior balcony with amazing views of a bunch of strangers' cabins, which is probably the main reason why this room is so controversial. Now, we will show you that balcony in a bit, but first we want to show you around the room, starting with the bathroom, which is right behind me. Now, like most cruise ship bathrooms, this one is quite small, but there are some things we do really like about this one, including the shelves for our toiletries, as well as this capsule shower. It is quite spacious for a cruise ship, and I like that it has a bar for easy leg shaving. The shower head is adjustable, the water gets hot, and the pressure is really good, but I would recommend bringing your own shampoo and conditioner because they only provide hybrid hair and body wash complimentary. Just outside of the bathroom is where you'll find one of the 2 closets, which is another thing that we like about this room, all of the storage space. In this one, there's space to hang your clothes on the right, a bunch of shelves on the left, as well as a safe, and below that there are 2 really good sized drawers. On the other side of the bed is another closet with a different layout. Now, this one doesn't have the shelves, but it has a bunch of space for hanging stuff, as well as a hook for a bag. In this corner is even more space to put all your stuff. Now, behind this door is the mini fridge, but all these drawers do offer more storage. Now, the bed behind me is a neutral topic for us because we have been sleeping well in it, but you definitely can tell a bunch of people have slept in it before. There are some areas that you kind of sink into, and you can really feel the gap in between the 2 twin mattresses. Now, if you find that bed to be uncomfortable, prefer a firmer sleeping surface, or maybe you're traveling with somebody who you don't want to share a bed with, this sofa could be a good option because these cushions are removable. Now, there are a couple other things we want to mention. We do appreciate all the hooks on the walls. We're using them for our hats, but they're also great for drying things such as swimsuits and towels. And finally, this room has a bunch of charging ports and outlets. We did bring our international adapters, but we haven't had to use them. Now let's go out to that balcony. And here is the beautiful view of all of our neighbors. As you can probably tell, the sound got significantly louder compared to inside of our stateroom. And that's because we are sailing away from Nassau right now, and they are blasting the music on the pool deck, which is just a couple of decks up. So if you're somebody that likes to come out to your balcony in the afternoons to enjoy the peace and quiet, then this is not the stateroom for you. Now, this room does overlook Central Park, and in the early evenings, they often have live musicians down there, and you can enjoy them from your balcony. So it is often peaceful in the evenings, but these balconies have absolutely no views of the water, so it almost feels more like you're staying at a hotel than on a cruise ship.
Now, while that balcony definitely does lack privacy and is also very loud, especially when they're bumping music up on the pool deck, it does have some redeeming qualities. It is pretty good size. It has a couple of nice chairs on it and a good sized table. And if you happen to be someone who enjoys watching people more than watching the ocean, you may actually prefer this balcony. Now, we definitely do not fall into that category, but I'd still say we prefer having this interior balcony over no balcony at all, because it is really nice to have the option to let that natural light into your room when you want it, and then shut those blackout curtains to make it pitch dark in here when you don't. Now, if you're someone who likes to stay up and party all night and sleep all day when you're on a cruise, you're probably not going to want to book this type of stateroom, because during the day, even when you do have that balcony door shut, you can still hear a little bit of noise, especially when they have that bass bumping up on the pool deck. It would make sleeping during the day difficult, but we can at least let you know that sleeping at night hasn't been an issue for us at all. It has been really quiet in here. Now, I think we both agree that given the choice between an ocean view balcony room and an interior balcony room, we would choose the ocean view balcony room every time if the prices were similar. But from our research, at least on this ship, that's not the case at all. We found that the interior balcony staterooms are actually much closer in price to the interior rooms than an ocean view balcony stateroom stateroom. So if budget is at all a concern for you when you're booking your next cruise, we would definitely recommend at least considering one of these interior balcony staterooms, because at least for us, the noise and the privacy concerns just haven't been an issue. But if you do have a bigger budget, you might as well splurge for the ocean view balcony stateroom, especially if you appreciate that privacy and peace and quiet out on the balcony. Now that we've finally got this big room controversy out of the way, we're gonna go grab some lunch.
Now for lunch today, I think we're gonna try to check out the Mexican spot. Now that sound meant Skylar left something important back in the room, so we gotta stop by there first. Now, those of you who have seen some of our prior cruise episodes may remember that Skylar has about a 50-50 track record of losing his cruise card and having to go to guest services to get a new one.
But thanks to the sponsor of this video, I don't have to worry about losing my wallet or my cruise card because I've got the Extra Wallet Pro. This wallet holds up to 14 cards securely, meaning no more cards falling out of my swim trunk pockets, and it pairs with this tracker card, which makes it practically unlosable. Anytime I leave my wallet behind, I receive a notification on my phone asking if I left my Extra, and a map pulls up which shows both where I am and where my wallet is. On top of that, I am just loving the looks and functionality of this thing, and I know Jamie is loving her Extra card holder too. Now with the holiday season coming up, I couldn't think of a much better gift idea for that hard to shop for a guy in your life, because what guy doesn't want to upgrade something that they already use every day with something that's much less bulky and more functional? Now whether you're looking for that perfect gift or just want to upgrade your own wallet, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the video description, and be sure to use code Explorcation to save 10% off, in addition to any sales that Extra is currently running. Thanks again to Extra for sponsoring this video. Now let's get on to lunch. So for lunch today, we decided to pop back into El Loco Fresh, the complimentary Mexican spot at the back of Deck 16. Now we actually tried eating there yesterday, but the line was insane. Thankfully today it was much shorter. We got our food right away, but we did make a couple rookie mistakes. We grabbed the pre-made burritos and quesadillas from the beginning of the buffet line, but we wish we would have waited to fill our plates at the end of the buffet line, because there they have a make your own taco station and a make your own nacho station. There's like 3 or 4 different kinds of meat there, and the meat that we tried was delicious, especially the pulled pork and the steak. They also had a really good salsa bar that had pico de gallo, guacamole, sour cream, and a bunch of other stuff on it. Overall, it was a good lunch, but it could have been even better if we would have known what to expect.
After lunch, it was time for Skylar to grab one of the daily $8 cocktail specials, which on this third day at sea was the Portside Punch. And after that, it was time for a nap. So it has been a while since you guys last saw us. After our late lunch, we decided that we needed a nap. And when we woke up, we realized that if we went to the main dining room tonight, we would really be pressed for time for our reservation for the Aqua Show. So we decided we were just gonna go to the Windjammer Buffet, and that was a great decision for us because it ended up being Indian night. We were able to try a bunch of different Indian dishes. Skylar had a plate that was full of different meats and sauces, and they were all really good. Because they were making them for the buffet though, the spice intensity was toned down. So we thought it would be a great way for someone who's not as familiar with Indian food just to try everything with the spice levels toned down a bit. Now, even though we went to the buffet, we were still rushing to get to the Aqua Show on time. We made it down here with just a couple minutes to spare.
Now because we arrived a little bit late to the Aqua Show, the seats were absolutely packed. But I decided to wander down to the front row just to see if there might be one available. And sure enough, there was one spot right next to a bunch of little kids, but they were nice enough to let me sit by them. Now I noticed when I got there that it said we were in the splash zone, so I figured I might get splashed a little bit and that would be fine. But as I started looking around, I saw that everyone else in the front row had towels, so I started to think I might get a little more wet than I was thinking, and I sure did. I got absolutely soaked pretty much immediately. Now the show itself was absolutely amazing. Jamie said it was really cool from way in the back, but up front, I'm pretty sure is a whole nother level. The floor of the pool was constantly moving up and down. There's always people diving off off of platforms of different levels. There were people flying through the air. There was a bunch of choreographed dancing. There was a whole bunch of ninja moves. Overall, it was just super intense. So it makes total sense why that is the name of the show. It was absolutely the best cruise ship show we've ever seen. I definitely recommend you go to it. If you don't mind getting wet, show up with a towel and go down to the first row. If you don't want to get wet, I'd maybe say show up early and get in the third or fourth row. And even if you don't sign up on time to get reservations, we'd still recommend showing up and just watch from the back, because Jamie said it was still awesome to see it from there. So after the show was over, we went over to the sports bar because it was right next door, and I've been wanting to go there ever since we got on this cruise because they actually sell pitchers of beer. Now, because we don't have a drink package, I'm always looking for good deals on drinks, and they sell pitchers for $18. That comes out to less than $4 per beer, and they have some really good beers to choose from. I got a pitcher of Newcastle, and it tasted delicious.
Now, before we leave this area, I do want to mention that the sports bar does also offer food, but it is not complimentary. Now, we did try some onion rings there, and they were really good. Next, we are heading up to a spot on deck 8 that we haven't been to yet. I can hear the 70s already. So the music hall has 2 different levels. The lower level has places to sit, a bar, a dance floor, and a really nice stage. The upper level has another bar, a pool table, and an area to watch the band from above. After dancing around for a bit on the 8th floor, we decided to come down to the 5th floor to the promenade to check out karaoke. The Spotlight Karaoke Lounge sure was a popular place to be, but we wouldn't be showing off our singing skills on this night, as we had another event to check out. And that took us back to Studio B, which on this 3rd night at sea was hosting Crazy Quest. Now, this 18 and older event was definitely not appropriate for kids, but it was pretty hilarious, very high energy, and had what was easily the most enthusiastic audience we've ever seen on a cruise ship. After Crazy Quest was over, Studio B was transformed into a nightclub, but since sleeping was sounding much more appealing than dancing, we'll have to pick back up with you in the morning.
So today is day 4, which is our last full day on the Wonder of the Seas, and we are ported in Coco Cay. We knew that pretty much everyone was going to be getting off the ship this morning to go to Coco Cay, so we decided to take advantage of it by spending the morning on the ship. We started off at our favorite coffee shop, and then we decided to knock off a couple of things on my list, which was going down the water slide and having a drink of the day, which today is one that I really enjoy.
So you access the water slides on the main pool deck on deck 15. There are 3 different ones. None of them require tubes, which does allow the lines to move quicker, but I do think it would be nice if they had one tube slide option. There's Skylar up in line. He's gonna try the toilet bowl slide first. Unfortunately, they said no to recording devices, even if they are strapped to your head, body, or wrist. The problem with a toilet bowl slide that doesn't require a tube is that most people seem to slow down significantly and stop and have to scooch their way.
After that, to our surprise, we were actually able to check out the 8th and final neighborhood on the ship that most people never even get to see. So we're gonna show you a little bit of that footage right now because they have some really cool stuff, including their own restaurant, lounge, infinity pool, and sun deck.
After touring the suite neighborhood, we went to the Windjammer Buffet because typically the food on the ships is better than the complimentary food on the islands, and it wasn't very busy as expected. Skylar's favorite was the mac and cheese, and mine was a chicken Indian dish. Now, by now, you've probably noticed that we are on the private island of Coco Cay. We are making our way across the island to a beach that didn't even exist the last time we were here. We'll see you over there.
So we have made it here to Cove Beach on Coco Cay, which was about a 15-minute walk or so, but in our opinion, it was totally worth it because this is by far the chillest beach on this island. It's kind of tucked away and it's really peaceful, so we figured this would be as good a spot as any to talk about all the things we love and don't love about sailing on the wonder of the seas. And because we want to end this video on a high note, we're going to start off with a few of the things that we don't love, which honestly aren't that many, but one of them is actually this island that we're on right now. Now, I need to start off by saying that if you are here with a family, then this is a great spot because there are all sorts of things to do with kids. There's a water park, there's a hot air balloon, and a whole lot of other stuff. Also, if you just want to get off the ship and party, the drink pass from the ship does work on this island. They also have a pool that looks like a lot of fun, but we really prefer the islands that seem a little bit more secluded, like MSC's Ocean Cay and even Norwegian's private island, and this island does not feel too secluded at all. There are a lot of people out here. They actually have 2 mega ships in port right now, so even though it's a bigger island, it feels really crowded and really loud for the most part. Now, one negative for me on the ship itself is the gym and the spa. Now, we don't spend much time in the spa normally anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, but it just didn't impress us that much compared to some of the other ships that we've been on, especially the newer ships. Now, the gym is somewhere we do tend to spend some time, and we didn't spend any time in the gym on this ship. Now, part of that reason is because this ship is huge and we had to walk around so much and climb so many stairs. Plus, we went on the rock climbing wall quite a bit and did the surfing thing, all of which require a lot of physical exertion. So we just didn't feel the need to use the gym, but if we did want to use the gym, I think we would have been a little bit disappointed because it's just not very well lit. The windows are a lot smaller than some of the other cruise ship gyms, especially the newer ones. Just didn't have that great of an atmosphere compared to some of the other newer cruise ship gyms.
The first thing I didn't love on Wonder of the Seas had to be their elevators because they are not destination elevators. There were several times when we were waiting for an elevator, it opened up and it was completely packed. We ended up climbing way more stairs than we were expecting to. Now, when we did get an elevator, oftentimes it stopped on every single floor, so the ride just took a very long time. They were not very efficient. Another thing that was a little bit disappointing was the promenade area for the parties. Now, they had a great turnout for their parties, but the layout was a little bit odd. A lot of people just ended up standing around. It was kind of hard to get through that area if you didn't want to participate in the party, and even if you walked a floor up to deck 6, you couldn't even make it all the way through, so it just didn't flow very well. Also, this ship didn't have a good outdoor area for evening parties, and we have enjoyed those on other ships. Now, tonight they have a toga silent disco party. It's going to be in the solarium. It's kind of like you're outside, but it's still covered, so we'll see how we like it.
Now that we've got our negatives out of the way, let's move on to a couple topics we're a little bit more neutral on. The first of those, at least for me, was the layout of the ship. It definitely wasn't the hardest ship to get around, but it wasn't the easiest either. There were a few times where we found ourselves kind of hitting a dead end, and we'd have to backtrack a little ways and go up or down a level to ultimately get to our final destination.
Oh no, we're getting caught in a rainstorm again. Hopefully this one blows over.
Also, there just didn't seem to be quite as many stairwells as we would have expected for a ship this size, which definitely did contribute to the excessive amount of walking we had to do on the Wonder of the Seas. But one thing we did love is that there are maps everywhere, around every elevator, every stairwell, and other places throughout the ship. You didn't have to go too far to get your bearings and figure out where you were on the ship.
Now, a neutral topic for me has to be the complimentary food on board. There were a ton of options that were available, and I think we've eaten at all of them except for one, which we are going to try tonight. Now, overall, we thought the food was good. There were some items we found that we thought were very good. There were other items that we tried that we would pass next time, but there was nothing that was terrible. Overall, though, we got the feeling that if you want great food consistently, you're going to have to pay extra for those specialty restaurants. With that being said, we did not go hungry. There were plenty of options to choose from, and we're happy with our choice to not try any of the specialty restaurants this time.
Now, one other topic that we definitely are neutral on is that interior balcony stateroom that we're staying in, but since we talked about that in detail earlier, we're going to move on to the things we love, and there's quite a few of those on this ship. And I'm going to start off with the drink options. Now, sometimes we do decide to splurge and get the drink package on a cruise ship, but for those times that we don't get the drink package, I normally find that I'm not willing to pay the prices for our drinks because they are so high. But on the Wonder of the Seas, we're really happy to find that they have some reasonable options. One I pointed out earlier in this episode was the pitchers of beer, which are $18 for a 60-ounce pitcher. I thought that was a great deal. Also, every day they do have a drink of the day, which is $8.50, which is pretty good price for a cocktail on a cruise ship. And they did have some pretty good options on this one. And also, for 2 hours every day, they had the happy hour margaritas for just $6.
Something I loved on the ship was the variety of adventure activities. We finally got to try the flow rider, and that was really challenging. I was actually sore the next day, but it was a lot of fun. We also really enjoyed the rock climbing wall. It was definitely the tallest wall we've climbed at sea, and it was a bit challenging too. And while that zip line was short, it was a lot of fun, and Skylar really enjoyed those water slides.
Now, before we get on to our last few things that we love about the Wonder of the Seas, we do want to thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and hopefully our prior Wonder of the Seas episode as well. We'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that thumbs up button. It really does help this video to reach a wider audience. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of our future videos, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and turn those notifications on. Now, another thing that I absolutely loved about the Wonder of the Seas was the entertainment, specifically that show in the Aqua Theater, which was called Intense. Now, I think I had the best seats in the entire house because I didn't mind getting a little bit wet, but even from the back, Jamie said that that show was amazing. We both agreed it was the best show we've ever seen on a cruise ship, and I would go back to that show time and time again. Jamie especially really loved the ice skating show, and those singers and the voices shows were so talented, and if you're someone who enjoys singing performances, you're definitely going to want to check that one out as well.
Another thing I loved was the Royal Caribbean app because it worked so well. I was able to get on it about a week before our cruise, and I could see the entire schedule for every day. I could also see some menus, and it was really helpful to plan our cruise to make the most of our short time on board. Now, our sailing did get adjusted a little bit because there were 2 hurricanes out in the Atlantic, so we were supposed to be in Coco Cay on day 2, but instead they changed it to a sea day on day 2. We stopped in Nassau on day 3, and we're here at Coco Cay on day 4. They updated the schedule on the app very quickly, so we were able to easily make adjustments.
Now, as you can see, the rain has finally stopped. The sun is starting to peek out and it is heating up again. So pretty soon we're going to take a dip in this water. But first, we do want to touch on one more thing that we loved about the Wonder of the Seas, and that is the service. It didn't matter where we were on the ship. No one ever seemed like it was a hassle to take our order or answer a question. But the place where we noticed the service being great the most was definitely in the main dining room for dinner. They were constantly asking if they could get us anything else. The service was truly exceptional and is one of the reasons we would absolutely consider sailing on the Wonder of the Seas again.
Now, I know Skylar is not a huge fan of this island, but as somebody who is always looking for shade, this island is pretty nice because even all the way out here at the Cove Beach, there are a ton of beach umbrellas and they are complimentary. Plus, without these umbrellas, we would not have been able to stay out here during that rainstorm. The water out here is a bit murky today, probably because it has been raining, but it is really calm and the temperature is nice. It's not too hot, not too cold. Now, this beach area is mostly sand, but there are definitely some sharp rocks and shells, so tread lightly out here. We're not trying to dilly-dally too much because I think that is heading our way. From our balcony, you can see that they are setting up for some sort of live music down in Central Park. And we can even see down into the promenade. There's a band playing there right now.
So we wandered into the Wonderland Bar and Restaurant just because every time we walked by it previously and peeked inside, it looked super cool. And when we got inside, we smelled this amazing smoke smell. We asked the bartender what it was, and he said it was from the smoked rings cocktail. So I had to try one. Here it is. That is pretty sweet, but well balanced. Super smoky. I guess it's like a smoked old-fashioned. I'm not an old-fashioned expert by any means, but I'd say this is a good one. Now that I've drank the majority of this drink, I am still loving the smell of it, but I gotta say, it is starting to taste a little bit like drinking a smoked log. So for our last dinner on the Wonder of the Seas, we decided to dine at the Solarium Bistro, which is complimentary but does require a reservation. It's Mediterranean style, but we were surprised that it is also buffet style. Now, when we got there, it seemed like a lot of the food on the buffet had been sitting there for a little bit, and the seafood seemed to be a little bit dry. That being said, we did find one of the best desserts we've had on the entire ship. The baklava was amazing, and also they had a made-to-order pasta station that was really good. So I think we would recommend giving that place a shot, but if you're able to make an earlier reservation, we would recommend it so you can get there when the food is fresher.
Now, I couldn't get off this ship without trying their ice cream. I ended up with the cookies and more. It's more than just your typical cookies and cream. I think there may be actual brownies in here. I'm not sure, but it is really good. Now, I wouldn't say it's quite as good as the gelato that you'll find on MSC ships, but I would definitely recommend this because it's very reasonably priced. This whole thing was like $3.50. It's our last morning here on Wonder of the Seas, and we are out on our balcony enjoying one last coffee. Now, we actually noticed something that we didn't realize earlier. If you have your curtains open in these rooms and your bathroom door open, you can actually see right into that capsule shower. So that is just one more thing to consider if you are booking one of these interior balcony staterooms. Now, we did pack in a whole bunch over the last several days, but we are still a little bit sad to get off the ship because we didn't quite get to everything we wanted to, because 5 days just isn't enough for these massive ships. Now, if you haven't yet seen what we got up to on the first 2 days of this cruise, then go ahead and click here right now. Thanks for watching.